I failed to mention, but the tip that I'm using on this plasma cutter is a drag tip, so it can come right up against the work. You might have recalled from the last video the famous Tubalcain circle cutter. So I think we'll try cutting a couple circles here. And I made a stand that is just the right height. And this is the manual one that you crank. I didn't have too much luck with that electric one, which I showed you before, but we got a magnet on the top of this, and really it's a magnet from a dial indicator. The smallest circle we can cut has to be slightly larger than the magnet, so I think you can imagine here that we don't want to cut into the magnet. Alright, let's try to cut some circles here with the handy dandy Tubalcain circle cutter. That's about 1/8 inch stock. We'll cut about a 4-inch circle. There we go, perfect circles, just like the piston rings. Let's try another one a little closer up. I'm afraid the sparks caused the camera to become darkened, so I hope most of that shows up. We're in the process of making several barbecue grills for the city, and the materials have been donated by one of our wonderful benefactors here that supplies a lot of our steel. Those are the pedestals that will be slipped over a pipe that is in the ground, and then the grill itself, which you see on the table there, will be bolted onto the pedestal. And this industry has laser cut these grills for us, not plasma, but laser cut. And what a fine job it does. Imagine trying to do that with a torch. And if you did, of course, the thing would warp horribly. So they did a beautiful job, and those will be welded into the barbecue. That's just a little side note. Another trick I wanted to show you, although it might be the obvious, but I had to make a belt guard for a machine. And this is 1/8 inch thick steel. But what I like to do when I'm making something like this, I make a wooden pattern. And since I'm only going to make 1 or 2 of these, I don't care that it's wood and that it's going to char. And I usually throw this in the water tank and get it a little bit wet. But just C-clamp that onto a plate of steel, and I can just run the plasma around there and around there, and then around the entire wooden cutout. Now you have to allow for the diameter of the plasma tip or cone, whatever it's called, which is 1 inch in diameter. So you can see that this hole needs to be larger than the finished hole. You know, I just hate, I shouldn't use the word hate, it's a mighty strong word, but I don't like hole saws for steel. They're great for wood, but I tell you, you can't run them slow enough. They're quite expensive, and it isn't too long before you got teeth coming out of there. So that's a good method. I had an occasion where I made several of these stools. I call them Pullman stools because they reminded me of the conductor stools that they would put out on a station platform for people to disembark. But this is made out of 1/8" steel. And the ellipses are to reduce the weight and somewhat for ornamentation. And then we got a hand hole in the top on the safety plate to carry it or lift it. And one of my students said, I know somebody that powder coats. So he took this into a shop, I don't know where it was, and they had it powder coated, so it really came out nice. I emphasize to the students, don't put too many wells on there. We just need a series of short wells. It doesn't make it any stronger if you have full-length wells, but the results is just a lot of warpage if you overweld something. I'm back to showing you some of the wooden patterns now for this stool, and all I do is C-clamp them. Now it takes a little while to make these, and I do that in my home shop because I don't have access to the wood shop here. And C-clamp it onto the plate. Like such, and then just follow the wooden pattern with the torch. And on a thin material like this, it cuts very fast. So I think I'll step over to the plasma cutter and do at least one of the ellipses for your ovals. Okay, we've got one of the wooden templates for that stool project, and I'm going to cut out the oval. This is real thin metal here. The trick here is to try to keep the torch perfectly vertical so that the starting and ending point coincide, and to be honest with you, I haven't been real good at that, but let's give it a try. And there we go. And there we have an oval. It's not perfect, but it'll get the job done. Now this is how I'll cut out the legs right here. I should have done it all in one step. There we go. Well, let's try cutting out this belt guard. I'll have to move the C-clamp halfway through. This is a little bouncy, but I'm trying to avoid cutting any of my cutting table. Okay, we'll move the C-clamp. Actually, I didn't move the C-clamp. I used another C-clamp so that the work wouldn't slip slightly on me. not quite as smooth a cut. I'll dress that up a little bit on the belt sander. Boy, that sure beats a hole saw and a bandsaw, doesn't it? I hope you guys enjoyed this little lesson on plasma cutting. Just a few tips, and you old timers, you guys in a welding shop, you know how to do all this anyway. But this is Tubalcain signing out and saying so long for now.